Hello there, running-ears. It's Manny again, and I'm back from Springtime Surprise. Hercules was there. It was just a magical time. It was so awesome. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. As usual, I come back and I'm just excited to announce what happened there. It was because of you guys. Thank you very much for helping this channel grow. We're done with the season, but we're going to have 5 or 6 months off. Before we get to start again, which is the Halloween, Disneyland Halloween run is the next one in September. But we got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. It means a lot to us. And more importantly, share this information with friends, family, and all social media. And keep asking your questions, keep interacting. I love interacting with you guys here while we're on hiatus for a while. I will be going to the parks, and I have a glorious announcement that's coming up in the next few videos, but I have to do it sooner than later, and you'll understand when I do that. And before we get to our topics, Disneyland did drop its theming and prices, so we're gonna do a whole video on that, so that'll be coming up soon. So it's something you gotta look forward to. So now we're gonna go over what happened at Springtime Surprise, and I'm gonna go day by day, and then afterward I'm going to announce what we need to work on, what was good, and then of course what was magical. But let's go ahead and start. So I'm gonna start on the day before the expo, and the reason I have to start on that is because it's become so amazing. I get to hang out with you guys, and that's a privilege for me. So I got to hang out with some runDisney friends and family the day before, basically stayed out late. I mean, we didn't do anything except just enjoy Disney. So that was day number 1. The next day was the expo. And again, I have a different perspective because now that I'm Club runDisney, I get to get in there earlier. And because of the Brooks dropping, I got to go in even earlier that day. And I really enjoyed the way that they did it. I thought it was very, very professionally done. The expo itself was, again, at that moment in time, there's not a lot of people, so I was able to go around there. I only got a few things. Of course, Hercules, who is one of my favorite characters of all time, was there. And then they had the picture ops. To me, the expo was kind of seamless. And then I started asking people who got there later, and they basically said the same thing. Now, you got to keep in mind that this is probably of the 4 Disney World races, this is the one that's least popular and the least amount of people go there. So that's the good part. It was still packed, but it wasn't packed to the point where you couldn't walk around. Stuff was running out. People were even commenting online, I've never seen day 3 and all this merchandise is left, and all sizes are left, and that's the more incredible part. But overall, I thought it was really, really cool. I love a lot of the things that they do. The hidden gems are like that cup. And yes, I was able to get another one. I didn't have to, I don't drink alcohol, so I was able to get it without any alcohol and bring it home. But they had a lot of hidden gems like that. The picture ops changed every day. That was actually pretty cool. But that was the expo. So the next day was the 5K, and what I'm gonna start off by saying is I started all 3 runs in the very back. I was one of the last people to start all 3 runs, 5K, 10K, and the half. I'm gonna say this also, all 3 days were pretty hot. They were cool to begin with. I called it deceivingly cool because as soon as we started moving, you could feel the humidity. It was not the funnest at times. Overall, it wasn't the worst I've ever been through, but it wasn't great when it came to the weather, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But overall, I enjoyed the 5K. They only had a handful of characters. Doctor Strange had this long line. I guess a lot of people hadn't seen him. I have seen him a few times at Disneyland. Somebody actually later on said, well, but you haven't seen him at Disney World, and that's a different picture. And I said, yeah, I guess I see that point. But again, I had that, so I didn't get in line. I believe I got 1 character on the 5K. A lot of things that I like seeing is the newbies, a lot of new people, and I encourage people. Whenever I meet people, I always tell them, hey, start with the 5K and let me know how it goes. And a lot of people were saying it was great, it was fantastic. And by newbies, I also mean the little ones. The little ones always enjoy it, and I love seeing their interactions. The first time they're running around and they're getting to see everything. I mean, it's not only the little ones, but it's the bigger children who just run around as their first one. It's just a lot of fun to do. I encourage people, if they're going going to do a 5K, do it at Disney World. Disneyland is a little bit different, and I'm not going to go into that, but I'm going to say that Disney World is not timed, so you can take your time, have some fun out there. Just a lot of fun, and I had a blast. I didn't even time myself. I don't know what I did. I just ran around, basically. And another hidden gem was the balloon ladies actually ran that race. I stayed with them on and off, and then I lost them towards the end. But it was funny because they were there incognito because they didn't have their balloons. And of course, it's not timed, but it was actually funny that they started in the back with us also. A lot of fun. So that's a 5K. So I will add that there was another cool thing that happened on 5K day. Again, I've made so many Run Disney friends and family that I'm going to have for life, and I already know it. Well, one of them decided to come with me. We went to go watch the former members of ELO at Epcot in the American Pavilion, so their concert. So we got to see that. We got to see the first one. Of course, we had to go to sleep earlier, so I didn't get to bed till a little bit later than I usually do because I was there watching it. But again, that's a great highlight, and I'm going to go over that because I do like hanging out with you guys. I love when I see people, and then a lot of you guys reach out to me, which I think is great. It's a blessing. And when I can, I really would love to do it. Is, hey, you want to get on a few rides? Hey, you want to go watch a concert? Hey, you want? I'm all for it. So I have a lot of fun. But that was one of them. We got to see the concert together. So now we go to Saturday, the 10K, and that one to me felt a little bit more warm, a little bit more humid. There was a lot more congestion. And this one was kind of a little funky because they had 3 water stops. Second one, they actually ran out of water, and I was there. So I was in the back, so I was there. I got to feel that. It really was demoralizing for a lot of people back there. I even heard them saying, man, I'm hot, I'm this and that, and they don't have any water for us. By the third station, I remember grabbing a whole bunch of bottles, and I was just handing them out in the back. I didn't drink any water myself, but I was handing them out to make sure everybody was hydrated. I've done this a million times, so I'm okay. But yeah, that's something that I'll touch on in a little bit. But the character stops were not as packed, but they still had lines. I didn't stop. I don't believe I stopped for anybody in the 10K, but I just finished. After that, I actually went back. I went to the parks for a little bit, and then I went back to my room to rest because by that time I was pretty exhausted. But let's move on to the 10 miler. So I don't know about you guys who ran it, but I had a blast during the 10 miler. They did a few things, and I talked a little bit about congestion, and I'll go over it a little bit later on. So also in the things we got to work on, the good and the magical. But one of the things is that when we started in the back, they hold the balloon ladies. A lot of people don't know this. If you watch my videos, you'll see this, especially the runs. They hold the balloon ladies back, and they had been only holding them for, not that long, maybe 15, 20, 30 seconds. This time, because I think it was because of the congestion, they actually started them about a minute later. So it was about a minute. We went up there, Dennis and I, we walked up there and we were waiting, and we usually turn around and they're on their way. This time we waited. They finally released them. So that was something that I think was a reaction to the fact that it was so congested the day before. Now this was probably a reaction from there too, because there was water stops and they were more abundant. So it seems that they had a lot more water at every water stop. Now in my opinion, it wasn't as humid as it was the day before. I don't know how anybody else felt it, but I also thought to myself, since it was so darn congested the day before, there was a lot of body heat. This one, because we started a little bit later and there was a lot more separation, a lot more people were not, bunched up. I felt better. It felt better for me. I was one of the added bonuses is I counted, I believe there was 19 places to take pictures. This not included the characters, but it included in front of Centopiaries, in front of Cosmic Rewind, all these things that you could take pictures with. So it was 19. I was able to get 18 of the 19. This is probably one of the closest I've ever gotten to 100%. But what I noticed is there was a lot more separation, and people were now very conscious of the balloon ladies coming, so they weren't stopping. The one thing that did happen for a few of them, and I am going to post them at the end, so you're going to get to see all the pictures. I'm going to post them at the end, is people were actually going, Manny, can I take a picture with you? Yes, you can. So anytime you're back there, I run up there, and once I'm in there, even the balloon ladies came and took pictures with me, which was awesome. But you guys are more than welcome to, if you see me there, and just ask me, and I'll let you guys come in. We cannot go more than like about 8 or 9 or even 10 at the maximum. But if it's less than that, 1-on-1, 2, 3, 4 of you guys want to get in and take pictures with me when I'm taking pictures with characters, I am more than happy to share. So finished off at the back, I got to see a lot of what happens. It was really, really cool because you don't realize how much the cast members, the photographers, the people on the course, how much they have fun interacting with us. And so I got to see them and got to see their interaction. It was really, really happy interactions. But I actually had a blast during the 10 miler. Don't get me wrong, it was still hot and I had some really, really high sweat equity, but it was a lot of fun interacting with you, seeing you guys. That afternoon, I met up with a lot of runners. This was actually one of the coolest things, is that we decided to get on the Tower of Terror as a group, and the group started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We had exactly 21 runDisney runners who had been participating, and guess how many seats there are in the Tower of Terror for every one of the carts? 21. So we actually had the picture, and I'm going to put that at the very end of this video. After all the pictures, you're going to get to see us on the Tower of Terror. You guys are more than welcome to. I think, you know, we're going to continue doing this kind of stuff. So reach out to me if you want to hang out and do these kind of pictures wherever we're at. Maybe get on some rides. I think it's really, really cool. But I had a blast. So now I'm going to go over what we need to work on. And I've already touched on a few of them, and I'm going to start off with the first and most obvious one. And that is, we need to have water at all the water stations. This is something that runDisney is hardly ever happens. I've seen it happen before in the past. I've heard about it, but I've never been there when they run out of water. So I got to see this firsthand. It didn't affect me as much because I'm okay. I run in the heat most of the time anyway, especially during the summer, so I'm okay with it. But there was a lot of people who were not used to it, and they really needed the water. runDisney, I think, did a great job. Again, the second day of the long run, so actually the third day, the 10 miler, they did a great job. They picked up the water. There was no more water stations lacking water, or at least that I saw, but they picked it up. But please, please, please don't do that to us. That's not something that that is, again, they're going to have a worse experience. So, but that was something that they need to work on. I believe they fixed it for the second day, or the third day, I should say. But that's the first thing we got to work on. The second thing you got to work on is the congestion. And I think the congestion was a combination of a lot of stuff. I really don't blame runDisney a lot for this one. I think that a lot of it was the runners. From being back there, you get a different perspective. And what I always tell people is, if you want to join us, please join us at your own risk, because again, I know my pace and I can go, but we're back there and we get to see a lot of things. So I think the first thing was, a lot of people did not understand pacing, and so they stayed back there and didn't realize that because of the next part of the equation, which was the heat, the humidity, that they were in the back and they were stuck in the back. And so they slowed them down enough in the 10K that, you know, it was just a bad experience for them. They were congested in the back. So again, I don't blame runDisney. I do believe runDisney did a great job. And when they held the balloon ladies back the third day a little bit longer, it gave people more of a chance, about, I'm going to guess, at least 30 more seconds for them to get a little bit further out, and there was less congestion. So I really do think that Disney has done their part. So now we're gonna do our part by training a little bit harder. I know the people that train in cold weather, that's a little bit harder to do. We'll figure out a way, and we'll work on it throughout the summer going into the run season. But I thought runDisney did a good job. That's something they got. I thought they worked on their part and they did their part. Now we got to do ours. So now we'll go to the good, and we'll start with the Expo. It seems like the Expos are getting a little bit more seamless, a little bit more user-friendly. I think Disney, whatever they're doing it better and better and better. It seems like a lot less people are complaining about the Expo, or at least what I see, and the people I interact with, a lot less people are complaining about that, and I thought they did a pretty good job overall at the Expo. I thought the character stops were pretty good also, and I'm going to go into that a little bit later in the Magical, but I think overall the character stops, the water stops, everything was pretty good, with the exception of the one that we talked about, where they ran out of water. And another thing that I thought was good is the way runDisney reacted to things that didn't go right the second day. They reacted by making sure that the water stations were all full of water or had enough water to give out to the runners, and of course they fixed that congestion part that they had the day before. So now we're gonna go to the magical, and I'm gonna have to say this one, people might disagree with me on this one, but I think this is magical for the simple reason that it was their first time doing this. First time shoes were sold at an expo in what, almost 8-9 years, something like that. Last one was New Balance. I thought Brooks did a magical job considering it's their first time there. The way that they ran everything, the way that it was almost very seamless. And I was watching a little bit because I was able to go back on a couple of days, and I was able to watch how seamless it seemed that people were going in there, trying on their shoes, going over there. I mean, you still had to wait in line, but it wasn't as if you were waiting in line forever. They seemed to not run out of shoes. From my understanding is most sizes stayed until the last day, which was, again, a magical thing in itself. They did go on sale the Monday and the day after, and that's when I started seeing that people were running, they were running out of sizes, but it seemed to be overall pretty magical. Another magical thing that I had was the 18 of the 19 picture opportunities I was able to get. I thought that was, I kept running up and I kept thinking, oh, there's going to be a line. I'm gonna try to get in the line, and of course we can't stay behind the balloon ladies. Please do not try to test that, because if you try to test that, which people have tried to, and they're still trying to test that that whole concept of them staying behind the balloon ladies for a little while, then trying to catch up. After a while, they're gonna sweep you, and I understand why. There was only one picture that was Mickey and Minnie in front of the Chinese Roman Theater, and that was the only one that had a longer line. And when we left, there was still a line of people there, and they ran by us. Please don't do that. But overall, getting 18 of the 19 pictures was something that was magical for me. Another thing that was magical was the people in the back and how much they were encouraging and helping people during the 10K and especially the 10 miler. I'm gonna say this was led by the balloon ladies and Dennis. They did a great job back there. I mean, there was a lot of people, and I get to see it and I get to hear it a lot. And it was so cool to see that people were just like, I can't go anymore, I can't go anymore. And then the balloon ladies were the leaders, and come on guys, you can do it. And come on, they were grabbing people and going like, you're gonna be coming with me, you're gonna finish. And guess what? Most of them finished. It was so magical to see. And this is what Run Disney, this is what life should be about. And I just thought it was great. It's great to be a part of it. I'm so glad to call them my friends. It was so great to see this these interactions going on back there. And the last thing that was magical was just being there and being with you guys. I interacted with more and more and more people, not only at the run, but at the expo, obviously, before and after the runs, at the parks, in the resorts, at the airport. You know, it just went on and on and on. And it was just so great to see you guys, great to interact, the stories. I love, love, love hearing the stories. The stories are awesome. It's just great to hear stories of overcoming. And I thought that was that's great, and I loved you guys sharing your stories with me. Please continue to do that. Reach out to me on social media, but I love seeing you in person. And again, there's going to be more and more chances to meet in person in the near future. Taking a picture with 20 fellow runners, 21 of us together, is another magical thing. And I just thought to myself, man, this doesn't happen that often. This was so great, and to be part of it is just so magical. And the last thing I'm gonna say that was magical, of course there's a lot more to it, but you know, I could be here for hours, but running by Muppet Courtyard and seeing Muppet Vision 3D for the last time through a Run Disney event. So we're going to be able to go there until June 7th. But it was so glorious to just run by there and just to see it. And I recorded and I turned the camera. I even slowed down, stopped, and I even talked to the cast member there. And I was able to record. And I said, this is the last time in a Run Disney event that we're going to run by, and we're going to see this. Next time we do this, and if we run through Hollywood Studios, all there's going to be is walls. There are going to be construction walls back there. So this is the last time we saw that. So that's it for this video. We have some glorious announcements coming very, very soon. Not having to do with Run Disney, but indirectly some Run Disney, and I'll explain when we get there. And we got a bunch of videos coming up this summer, a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're going to continue making these videos all through summer with training training, so forth and so on. But before we log off, any questions, anything that stood out? Now, I'm going to add this one. Any memories from this weekend that you want to share with us so that everybody can read it and just say, man, this was such a great experience. Anything that was less than ideal and you want to share with us also, please do. Don't feel like you can't do that. We'll try to see what we can do to turn it some more magical in the future. But without further ado, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart because we got to finish a whole another season. We got more coming up in about 5 or 6 months. But without further ado, create a magical day, create a magical run, and guys, see you sooner than later.